Hello again and welcome. Professor Moto here. Today I want to talk about commuting. So, a lot of us get bikes because we want to commute. Or we tell ourselves that that justifies the decision to get a bike. Sometimes we even use it if we already have a bike. You already have a nice motorcycle. You use it to justify getting a new motorcycle or an additional motorcycle. And I gotta say, it's probably not gonna make sense for you. One justification we use for using a bike to commute is that it saves money. Well, I got news for you. It's very, very hard to save money riding a motorcycle versus driving your car. For one thing, if you have a car anyway, right? Unless you are going full on and only using a motorcycle as your only form of transportation, buying an additional vehicle probably doesn't make sense. Now, what people say is motorcycles get better gas mileage. Well, this GS, I'm getting about 43, maybe 44 miles per gallon on my commute. That's pretty good. But there are a lot of cars that do almost as well, right? So I don't know how true that is. It does do quite a bit better than the car that I commute in. The car I commute in gets about 25 miles per gallon overall. Maybe I squeeze out about 27, 28 on the highway. So the bike gets better gas mileage. Now this bike, and many more bikes than you realize, requires premium gas. So I'm saving on gas, but am I saving on money for gas, given that premium gas costs quite a bit more? I don't know. You'd have to sit down and do the math. Every time I sit down and do the math on a bike, though, I find that it's not really saving me money. Not a good reason to commute. There's also the maintenance on the bike. Now, you can do a lot of that yourself. You can do your own oil changes. You can do your brake pads. You can do a lot of those things. But a motorcycle just flat out requires more frequent maintenance than a car. They're generally high-performance machines, and they're not made with low or infrequent maintenance in mind. Motorcycles require quite a bit more frequent maintenance. Don't get me wrong, a lot of bikes are fairly low maintenance. This bike, I guess, is fairly low maintenance. But I'm still, every 10 or 12,000 miles, I'm going to need to do things like a valve check / valve adjustment on this bike. Definitely going to be needed checking the brakes. And at some point, the suspension wears out. Then there's tires. Tires on this bike are going to last me, depending on the tire, anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 miles. These stock Michelins on here, the Anarchy 3s, I'm probably going to replace them at 6,000 miles. Now, are they completely worn out? I have about 4,600 miles on the bike right now. Will they be completely worn out then? No. But the front tire is a little cupped already, and the rear tire's got a flat spot in the middle because as nice as these roads are, they're not very twisty, and most of the time I'm going straight. You don't get leaned over that far on a road like this unless you're doing 130 miles an hour, and that's a good way to get killed. So don't save a lot of money. And tires are very expensive. I'm probably going to spend $400. Doesn't even really matter what kind of tires I get. I'm probably going to spend about $400 with mounting and balancing on a new set of tires for this bike. So, I do my own oil changes. I do a lot of my own maintenance, but I've done a motorcycle tire change myself, and it's a giant pain in the butt. So, realistically, you don't save money on commuting. Now, here's what you save. Sanity. It is just a lot more fun, a lot more pleasant to ride a motorcycle. And as a matter of fact, it's also a stress reducer. And driving a car on your commute is often a stress contributor. So, the reason to do it is because you love it. You like motorcycles and you want to ride a motorcycle to work. Another reasonable excuse is parking. And that is true. It may be the case that where you're going, it's a lot easier to park a motorcycle. So if you're going somewhere where there's dedicated motorcycle parking, yes, it's a big advantage. So for example, I work on a college campus. I'm going there now. There's dedicated motorcycle parking. There's also just a lot of spots where the university police allow motorcycles to park. And so parking is very sketchy at the university during the middle of a semester, during the middle of the day. But on a motorcycle, it's no problem at all. So parking is a pretty good reason to want to commute on a motorcycle. That's not going to work for you in all cases, but I find that it's a big advantage here. Another reason to commute on a bike is if you happen to live someplace where lane splitting is either legal or tolerated. So I used to work in Washington, D.C., and I don't think lane splitting is technically legal or illegal in Washington, D.C. I don't think there's a law about it at all. And the norm is, once I lived in Northern Virginia, once I crossed over into D.C. and got into the really bad traffic, I could filter to the front of the traffic at stoplights, and cops didn't bother me at all. So in Virginia, if I tried to lane split or filter, I got pulled over once for doing that. It's kind of a no-no there, but in DC it seems to be tolerated. Obviously in California it's not only tolerated, I believe they passed a law that kind of makes it clear that it's legal and what the guidelines are. Simply says, I think, that you have to do it in a safe and prudent manner. So that is a reason. It can get you through traffic more quickly if lane splitting and filtering are tolerated or even outright legal where you are. However, in 49 states, I don't know. In most states, most places, you're better off not doing it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is you could get pulled over, you could get a ticket. That's no fun. And once that happens once or twice, you not want to do it anymore. But another reason is if it's not common where you are, and if it's not legal or it's not tolerated, drivers aren't used to it. And if drivers aren't used to it, forget it. Forget it. They'll get angry about it. So, those are my thoughts on commuting. And I encourage you to subscribe. Let me know what you like and don't like in the comments. And thanks for watching Professor Moto.